Hello, my name is Angela Hemrick. This book review presentation is for Classroom Management EHS-556. I will be reviewing the book A Framework for Understanding Poverty. The full title of the book is A Framework for Understanding Poverty, A Cognitive Approach, and this is the 5th revised edition of that book. The author is Dr. Ruby Payne, and the book was published by EHS-556 Incorporated in Highlands, Texas. The publication date for this edition is 2013. There are 239 pages in the book. A Framework for Understanding Poverty is authored by Dr. Ruby Payne. Dr. Payne is a career educator with over 30 years' experience in public schools. She has authored more than a dozen books and is the founder and president of EHS-556 Incorporated. Dr. Payne is considered an expert on the mindsets of economic class and on crossing socioeconomic lines in education as well as work settings. Dr. Payne grew up in middle class, was closely involved with a neighborhood of generational poverty for 32 years, and lived among Chicago wealthy for 6 years. The book focuses on helping the reader understand poverty by discussing the following 6 areas: naming the experience of generational poverty, identifying the resources necessary to become educated, providing intervention strategies, increasing the transfer of knowledge between generations, understanding the thinking one typically encounters in generational poverty, and helping to understand the reality of situated learning that occurs in generational poverty in order to help individuals make the transition to school or work. The book, commonly referred to by the shortened title of Framework, was originally published in 1995 and has had several editions. For this, the 5th edition, the author rewrote the original book with new information and more current research. Framework is written with the audience of teachers, principals, district leaders, counselors, school nurses, and any other individuals who work with the poor in mind. It is written with the stated purpose of helping to positively impact the opportunities of students or clients in order to improve the achievement of students from poverty, and ultimately to help give them the ability to exit poverty. The book takes a cognitive approach to understanding generational poverty by examining and naming the common experiences of living in poverty, middle class, and wealth. To summarize the book, Dr. Payne discusses how classroom behavior and performance of students from generational poverty are impacted by factors in 3 general areas. First, she discusses the multiple patterns and hidden rules that have an impact on the learning of students in generational poverty, and compares them to the patterns of middle class and wealth. A key quote from this section reads, "Not understanding the hidden rules of the next class often is the key factor in keeping an individual from moving upward in a career. Key relationships don't occur because a hidden rule is broken, leading the other person to think the one who broke the rule is stupid or rude." Second, the author discusses the relationships that students in generational poverty have with their role models, support systems, and teachers or other adults. From this section, Dr. Payne is quoted to say, "When students who have been in poverty and have successfully made it into the middle class are asked how they made the journey, the answer 9 times out of 10 has to do with a relationship, a teacher, counselor, or coach who gave advice or took interest in them as individuals." Finally, the author directly addresses classroom strategies for students in generational poverty by discussing how teachers should adjust discipline and instruction strategies for effectiveness among students in generational poverty. Dr. Payne is quoted as saying, "In school, a middle-class definition of discipline is used along these lines. Discipline is a punishment used to address inappropriate behavior in order to change that behavior. In poverty, discipline tends to be about penance and forgiveness, not necessarily change." She is also quoted to say, "In the U.S., schools, furthermore, we have traditionally assumed that the cognitive skills and structures, the schema, are in place when a child enters school. Increasingly, students, mostly from poverty, are coming to school without the concepts, but more importantly, without cognitive strategies. For the purposes of this review, I'll ask 3 guiding questions that will serve as the criteria by which I'll judge the success of the book. First, how well does the book accomplish its stated purpose of providing a framework for understanding poverty? Second, how useful is the information for teachers in the classroom? And third, will this information help me as a teacher to shape my classroom rules and procedures? I'll first address how well the book accomplishes its stated purpose of positively impacting the opportunities of students from poverty in order to improve their achievement and ultimately help them to exit poverty. The book does an excellent job of explaining the resources, or lack thereof, language, hidden rules, and systems of support among the 3 classes of poverty, middle class, and wealth. These explanations help the reader, who's most likely from middle class, understand the systems at work in generational poverty. The book also provides numerous examples and case studies to help teachers understand the experiences and situated learning of students in poverty. Teachers who have lived in middle class their entire lives have no frame of reference for predicting and understanding the home life experiences of students in generational poverty. Finally, the book provides numerous suggestions for ways that teachers can positively interact with students in the classroom, as well as in building relationships with students. The primary recommendation of the book is that schools should teach students the hidden rules of middle class so they may exit poverty. Next, I will evaluate how applicable the information in the book is for teachers in the classroom to help students in poverty. Each chapter of the book ends by providing a few bullet items addressing the question, what does this information mean in the school or work setting? These provide teachers with a general takeaway from the chapter specific to the classroom, which is very helpful. In addition to the bullet list in each chapter, the book provides advice for schools and teachers throughout the book, which are intended to help students on a personal level to succeed in the classroom. This information informs teachers as to students' specific needs with regards to resources, positive reinforcement, classroom survival skills, goal setting, and time management, among others. The book also provides several instructional needs throughout the book, in addition to devoting an entire chapter to instruction and improving achievement of students in poverty. Some of the instructional needs mentioned include teaching of formal register and teaching input strategies, such as exploring data systematically, identifying constancies across variations, gathering precise and accurate data, and considering 2 sources of information at once. The author argues that students in poverty often do not have the input strategies required to work at the elaboration level. All of this information is very useful for teachers not familiar with students in poverty to be able to understand and form relationships with them and to develop effective instructional strategies. Finally, I'll discuss whether the information in the book will help me as a teacher to shape my classroom rules and procedures. Much of the information provided in the book can be applied to improving teachers' understanding of students in poverty and some of their typical behaviors, such as their work ethic, sense of humor, open display of emotions, independence, and possessiveness. Understanding the behaviors of students in poverty can help temper my frustrations and helps me to know what behaviors I need to teach in my classroom. The book also devotes an entire chapter to discipline, in which it defines the 2 anchors of effective discipline as structure, clearly communicating expected behaviors and probable consequences, and choice, as students always have the choice to follow or not to follow expected behaviors. This is a basic tenet of classroom management, but the book explains that it is especially necessary for students in poverty to understand that they have a choice as they have a keen need for independence. This chapter provides a useful chart that explains student behaviors and suggests possible interventions for these behaviors, as well as helpful discussion regarding the use of adult voice versus parent voice, and teaching students to use adult voice. The importance of adult voice is that it is non-judgmental and factual, not negative or punitive, and communicates an attitude of win-win to the student. I feel that these specific pieces of information and advice, coupled with the framework for understanding poverty provided in the rest of the book, will help me to shape my classroom rules and procedures in a realistic and beneficial manner. In conclusion, A Framework for Understanding Poverty is an invaluable work for helping teachers from middle class to obtain perspective and understanding of students in poverty and their families. The information presented in the book has provided me with explanations, interventions, and language necessary to more effectively discipline students in poverty. With the resources and suggested strategies presented in this book, I feel equipped to provide more beneficial instruction to students in poverty in order to help them improve achievement and learn the hidden rules of middle class. I feel that this book provides teachers with helpful knowledge, understanding, and tools to help students throughout their school career in order to help them gain an education and exit poverty. Thank you for listening to my review of A Framework for Understanding Poverty. The APA reference for the book is provided for your benefit.